Okay. Introduction, little introduction here. It was late afternoon when Vina and I headed back to the chambers for the first council meeting. The day was sweltering, and a lingering haze from the wine we shared before lunch clouded my mind. I was about to be inundated with updates and reports from my counselors. I only hoped that I could keep it all straight. How much wine did I drink? Or am I like a lightweight? As we made our way through the palace gardens, an unsettling sense of being watched crept over me. Then suddenly I caught sight of a young man standing by the path. His face matched the photograph Hugo had shown me that morning. Duke Suzerain, I presume? He smiled nervously. I hold no land, your majesty, but you may use the title if you wish. How old are you? Like 23? Well, no, okay, so I was president in 1926. Oh, so he might be like 23, 24 years old. Who put a 24-year-old in charge of the opposition? I guess this is what happens, though, when you're in, like, a monarchist system, right? It's like, 24-year-old. Yeah, you're good enough. You're the traitor's son. It's brave of you to approach me. He tugged at his suit lapel. I want to introduce myself before our official meeting. I may be the leader of the opposition, but I am not your enemy. If you and I can establish a dialogue, I believe we can work wonders for this country. Vina gave him an encouraging smile. How lovely of you to say that. I'm Vina Toras, by the way. No daughter of mine is going to marry a Zidane. Not one that's a traitor. Not one that would see me dead, dying in a ditch. I know, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Okay, don't speak to him, Vina. We're going to be late. Her face fell, but it's perfectly fine. I hope to speak again when it's more convenient, Your Majesty, Your Highness. He rushed away. Vina watched him go, disappointed. He's only trying to be nice. He shouldn't be cornering the King of Rizia on a way to an important meeting. The king needs to learn decorum. We continued towards the council chambers. Oddly enough, I still felt like someone had their eyes on us. I looked back for just a moment, long enough to see a flash of gold. Titus, of course. We entered the chambers, where Hugo was already waiting for us. No sooner had we sat down than a brief rap came to the door. Without waiting for an answer, Lucia Azero rushed in. The new war and security counselor was younger than I had imagined. She carried herself with a mix of regal elegance and soldierly authority. Everyone... Is it like, is that like how you tell the houses apart, is like their portraits? Because I feel like in the base game, there was never a portrait where they just stared at you. Where there's like they always like look to the side. You know, like Elena here, or, you know, Pabel. I don't feel like there's anybody who looked just directly into the camera. Or the, I don't know if you want to call it a camera, but you know what I mean. Gentlemen, pardon my interruption. She bowed towards me. Please accept House Azaro's formal congratulations on your coronation, Your Majesty. I motioned for her to stand. Her eyes was fixated on my uncle's shirt as she raised herself. What's on my uncle's shirt? Hugo, Your Grace. Your shirt's button's wrong. My uncle looked chastised. Oh, hello, Princess Vina. Your Majesty. May I ask what your daughter is doing here? You know what? She's here to receive tutelage from the best minds this kingdom has to offer. Yours included. I'm flattered. She gave Vina a broad smile. Please don't mind me, Duchess of Zero. I'm only here as an observer. Lucida's eyes darted towards the door. The king and his direct successor are spending so much time in the same room. I hope the Golden Guard knows what's at stake in keeping these chambers secure. General Tatis sends his regards, or he would if he was capable of speaking in full sentences. She was trying to be flippant, but I could see emotion behind her words. I hope he heals swiftly. I was counting on his expertise as a counselor. She frowned briefly. I'll do my best to serve in his stead. The others should be right behind me. As if on cue, I heard the voice of Ella Wierner and Lucento Escabel, my treasurer and counselor of foreign affairs. For that sake, Lucento, Don't you need to hold the door open for me every single time? I'm not as fragile as I look. I keep telling you. How could I allow a door to close on such a gorgeous face? I remember their flirtatious routine from my days as my father's counsel. Nobody knew whether the two of them actually had an affair. On seeing me, they dropped the act and assumed a look of deference. Losantio smoothly removed his fedora, revealing a well-oiled mane of gray hair. Your Majesty, it is a pleasure and an honor to be in the room with you once more. Elena nodded, her business-like demeanor briefly softened as she looked at me. I must say, it makes me proud to see you in that seat. Between your time on this council and the fine work you did in Velikris, I can't help but think of a better man for the position. This formality doesn't suit any of us. Elena, Vicentio, it's great to see you both again. Protocol is protocol, Your Majesty, even if we both known you since you were in diapers. Elena looked fondly at us. I'm pleased to see the young heiresses here as well. A new Rizia the Great in the making. Bina blushed. I wouldn't go that far, but I do hope you can tell me about your time with Queen Lizia's court one day. Oh, I'd love to. There are just a few updates I've got to share with your father first. Once all the council receding, Hugo began. Thank you all for joining us. I'm pleased to have the entire council here for the first meeting. Well, not the entire council. The Grand Wise Man is in Plavo, preparing for the upcoming religious ceremony with His Majesty. But he needed to involve himself in earthly concerns, like our royal treasury. He smiled to himself and then gestured to Elena. No, indeed. That's for me to worry about. She put on a pair of half-moon glasses, then reached down into her purse, pulled out a thick leather-bound ledger, and flipped it open. Surely His Majesty's already has some awareness regarding the state of Rizia's economy and resources. I do, yes, but my daughter doesn't know. My daughter doesn't know, so you should probably let her know. Anno smiled at Vina. Certainly. She smoothly adjusted her reading glasses before continuing. Up until the 1940s, Rizia was historically one of the wealthiest countries in Southern Merkopa. But His Majesty, the late King Vero, bequeathed us a number of challenges in that department. Where should I start? Okay, what about the budget? It's healthy, Your Majesty. Since we began trading with Rumberg, we've been running a surplus. It's not as high as it used to be, but I think we can. I think we should put it to work. All glory to the late Vero. He had a certain prudence about spending government funds, even when it was even when it might have made Rizia richer today. Now, new gold mines are scarce, our richest resources nearly depleted, and the kingdom's burdens have grown over the past decade. Okay. Well, nonetheless, it's good to know we're not going broke. With that said, our budget will need more padding if we want to complete the slate of military modernization measures that I've had in mind. Elena pursed her lips. With all due respect, Duchess Azaro, I'm not sure the military is the king's #1 focus. You know what? If we invest our surplus into Rizian industries, we'll be able to get back what we spent triple-fold. Very good thinking, Your Majesty. Ultimately, shouldn't that money be spent on the Rizian people? Think of the advances that we were able to make during the Lizia era due to the Queen's investments in citizen welfare. You'll recall her famous quote, "True prosperity is not defined by the amount of gold in our coffers, but by the health and happiness of each soul within our borders." She's woke. I'm sorry. I'm sorry she's woke. We can't have that. You know what? We're going to learn from President Rain. He's not dead yet, but he will be dead in a few years. On the other hand, there's no welfare without security. What good is health and happiness if we're unable to defend ourselves? Hugo puts up a hand. I'll point out that Rizia's wealth, and my mother's judicious handling of it, was one of the factors that allowed us to survive the century of revolutions. However, those were different times. As a modern nation in the era of increasing superpower influence, we are expected to have a certain standard of military. Okay, you're right, Hugo. I'll take Duchess Azaro's suggestion seriously. I'm honored, Your Majesty. Your enthusiasm is heartening, Duchess of Zero. I'm sure you will have much more advice to share during your own briefing. Any further questions, Your Majesty? Okay, what's going on with our gold? We love gold. Well, Your Majesty, gold is still the backbone of the Rizian economy, though production has declined as our reserves began to exhaust themselves. We have a number of active mines within the country, operated by the Rizian Royal Gold Corporation. She and Hugo exchange glances. And unfortunately, we cannot talk about Rizian Royal Gold without talking about its CEO. Why, unfortunately, Your Grace? Your uncle never could countenance the presence of Rusella Montoro, but we can't mine gold in this country without him. Mr. Montoro, excuse me, Rusty, currently owns 70% of Rizian Royal Gold. How did you allow him to get a 70%? What? That's fucking. That's the guy from. I'm so bad with names. That is. I can't remember. He's on TV. He wears suspenders. Is he? He's not. It's not. Was he on like Roseanne? I don't know his name. Shit. Anyway, it's him. I still can't believe he was allowed to gain such a large majority. Nor can I, Your Majesty. He looked at Alina. Rusty's first move after taking over the company was to sue your father's government for the loss of revenue collected to the Zila handover. After a very lengthy back and forth, it was agreed that the kingdom's share of the RRG would be decreased from 45 to 30%. We want our stake back. Nationalize it. I mean, I do want to see if we can get our stake back. Currying a favor with Rusty, and it should be possible, but any more than 45% will be difficult. The patent for RRG's proprietary mining technology was filed in Ventry City, Arcasia, and most of its financial assets are kept in Kairut. In other words, attempting to nationalize the company without Mr. Montoro's express approval would strip it of its value. She adjusts her glasses before continuing. While RRG controls mining within Rizia, the royal government is a direct stakeholder in the Meftium International Trade Zone. She unrolled the map of the table and points to the region to the east of Morella. The double blow is losing mines in Zel, and a 50% of our RRG stake has made us quite reliant on the gold from the MITZ. Lizento stroked his mustache. It was established shortly before you joined the Royal Council, was it not, Elena? I heard the negotiations between Rizia, Vagila, Lesbi, and Morella took over a year. Well, when we get Zela back, will we also get the gold back as well? I certainly hope so. Valen has been mining extensively in the region since taking over in 1927. As per the terms of our agreement, Zela and all the resources therein will return to Rizian ownership in 1952. At the time of our last survey, there was much more than 30 years worth of gold in the ground there. Okay. Can't we increase our mining efforts within Rizia to make up for the loss? We can try. There are a number of promising sites we have yet to be explored. We just would need a commission to survey and find them. Keep in mind that any mining site near noble-owned estates would lead to a devaluation of those properties. I saw Hugo's wince at that remark. And what much does it say the government has? How much does the government have over operations at the MITZ? A fair amount. Any changes to regulations or profit shares have to be agreed upon by all four nations involved. The RRG gets a percentage of the MITZ as profits for the use of its technology, but we can make decisions without Mr. Montoro's input. Okay. What about energy? I feel like this is going to be a long conversation. Okay. Very gladly, Your Majesty. This is a new area for us compared to gold, but the financial possibilities are intriguing indeed. She points to the map in front of her, this time directing her attention to the southern coast of Vadakiris. Though our state energy company is called Rizian Oil and Gas, production of the former has slowed over the years, and is threatening to come to a complete halt. The latter, however, shows immense potential. Our most productive gas field is Esquiris, off the coast of Topaz. Assuming enough money is invested into its expansion, we could expect it to fuel our kingdom for years to come. Or we can spend our budget elsewhere as we wait for access to the new field south of Kalakebis. Careful, Miss Werner. One shouldn't count one's pheasants before they've bagged. Okay. South of Kalakebis. Wouldn't that put it close to Palace? Legento gave me a significant look. Exactly, Majesty. Miss Werner will tell him. Well, we're still in the extremely early stages. But we may have at least part of the claim to the substantial reserve of natural gas between the port of Palace and the Rizian island of Kalakebis. Okay. Now, what are we waiting for? Let's go drilling. Elena suppressed a smile. I like nothing more, Your Majesty, but protocol must be followed. Our researchers have been investigating the field size and borders. Once those are known, it'll be easy to determine ownership. Of course, we are liaising extremely close with the Palace to avoid misunderstandings. As we should. Nobody wants a repeat of the last conflict. Really, Duchess Azero? Your family isn't itching for a rematch? She laughed uncomfortably. Just because the Azeros are demanding the reclamation of Palace doesn't mean that it's a good idea. Of course, if Palace shows hostility towards us, we will react in kind. But Rizia should not be the first to resort to aggression. Vina attentively raised her hand. I don't know why we're even discussing military response. We'll surely be able to reach a compromise under proper diplomacy. It's time to grow up, my dear daughter. In real life, there's always a winner and a loser. Oh, but Elena gently cut in. We should save discussion for if and when we know about the gas field in question. For now, for any other questions? Yes, how about taxes? Historically, our resource-based economy has allowed us to have some of the lowest tax rates on the continent. It's been a real boom for business. The central government does collect a flat income tax of 10%. This is mostly paid by workers, since nobles have no income to speak of. Okay. I mean, of course, we can't tax the nobles. Okay. 10%, that's low, isn't it? Yeah, compared to most of our neighbors, yes. We do provide a high standard of social services to our people, but that's mostly financed with trade income. This is led by the House of Delegates' design, Your Majesty. Lowering the tax burden on citizens leads to higher satisfaction with the government and less likelihood of rebellion. Okay. Why don't we just get rid of income tax altogether? That would be risk, Your Majesty. Without any other revenue-generating measures to replace that tax, it'd leave us completely reliant on our natural resources. In terms of our province's individual contributions, they pay less than 3% directly to the crown, which mostly goes towards administration costs. The arrangement dates back to the agreement made after the War of Rizian Succession. After 4 years of civil war, the crown granted broad fiscal autonomy to the provinces. So when was this? 1805. About 100-something years ago. It is the very structure of the realm. Our code of agreements, one that has endured for centuries, the provinces remain the backbone of the kingdom. Okay. So how are the provinces performing economically? There are key hindrances worth your attention. Let me walk you through them. Your house's province, Vadankiris, leads the realm in GDP, driven by its wine, gas, and tourism sectors. Brenes is still suffering from the effects of the laws of Izzy and Ziel. However, it's made advancements in shipping and agriculture alongside its gold mines. Manufacturing concerns in Cardes and Monteclar are doing very well. The point of business council are complaining about an imminent shortage of skilled workers. A shortage of Rizian workers, Elena. Those vacancies could easily be filled with migrants from Valand and Dirdia. That's a slippery slope, Mr. Esquibel. Are you familiar with Rizia's two-tier employment system, Your Majesty? Please, explain it to me. After the Valence of War, we began granting labor hand visas to Veznek immigrants and smaller number of Dirdians. Labor hands may accept employment by Rizian industries, but they don't have a right to social security or any other benefits, and there's a cap to how much they are allowed to earn. They now make up most of our blue-collar workforce, with higher-paid jobs held by native Rizians, as well as a small number of lesbians, Vagslandians, and Rumburgians. The program did wonders for the economy when King Velero initiated it, but as a result, we now have millions of workers in this country who are being treated like second-class citizens. Okay. Same working rights. System functions. You know, I see where you're going with this, but granting them full employment rights would lead to a flood of uncontrolled migration. I'm not sure about that. The situation in Valen has stabilized since the Civil War. Rizia offered a Wesnex asylum where other countries did not. There must be some limit to our generosity. From purely pragmatic point of view, expending foreign workers' rights does seem like a convenient solution to the shortage Elia mentioned. And from a security standpoint, allowing migrants to earn more money would curb the black market activities that have been taking place in cities like Rizia. Do you not fear the dilution of Rizian culture and values, Duchess of Zero? Or the infiltration of Durnus and Golconist into our Virschist society? She shrugged. Society has changed, Your Grace. And I don't recall these concerns being raised by the Rumburgians who moved here after our alliance. Okay. That's completely different. The Rumburgians are our blood relations. There's also far fewer of them. The people of this country will accept diversity up to a certain point, Your Majesty, but if they begin to feel their national identities under threat, there will be consequences. Which, by the way, is why I fully support the Rizia National Coalition's suggestion to impose a tax on non-Virschist, filling their coffers and rewarding native Rizians faithful in one go. Hugo fixed Lucitia defiant stare. Anna looked uneasy at the three of us. She tapped a pencil on the table. We seem to have veered off track. Can we get back to your question about the economy? That's all the information I think that I need for now. Elena glanced down at her notes, her expression contemplative. I'd like to discuss several economic considerations. We should anticipate potential expense rising from our impending fiscal policies. Please elaborate. The first point it's considering is industrial growth. I'm all for expanding production and construction, but we should make sure we have the energy to keep our facilities humming. Secondly, there is a matter of living standards. Improving the quality of life for our citizens naturally leads to higher administration expenditures. Thirdly, if you do decide to listen to Duchess Zavio and expand our defense capabilities, keep in mind that the cost of upkeep for our armed forces will rise accordingly. Lastly, energy management poses its own challenges. As we approach the limits of our grid's capacity, we may incur additional shortage cost. Okay. Very good to know, and I'll make my decisions accordingly. Frankly, I'm glad you taking such an interest in our financials. Between myself and the House of Delegates, we'll be able to keep everything running smoothly in the absence of clear guidance from your father. But with the king of your caliber at the helm, there's no telling how high we can soar. You know what? Your hard work during my father's decline is to be commended. Thank you. It was indeed quite stressful from time for everybody. And I think it's enough for today. But we'll have to come to a decision regarding our resources. If gold and energy exports are to remain the backbone of our economy, we need to focus on finding new sources. Of course, we could also try to develop our own other industries. I'll let you think about it, Your Majesty. Okay, thank you. A pleasure to share these chambers with you once again, King Romus. Yes, I'm looking forward to our upcoming security briefings. And congratulations on surviving your first council meeting, Your Highness. I found it fascinating, Your Grace. They smiled at each other, not altogether sincerely. My counselors left. I sat for a few minutes reflecting on what Elena and the others had said. Okay.